So we saw how our to form of the verb to come, to eat, to tolerate. How would to tolerate be?
Toleration, toleración, tolerar.
Exactly, tolerar. Good. So our to form ends with an R, and it's always going to be AR, ER, or IR. And we had an example of each. And we noticed that for R, and ER verbs, unless the verb is irregular, we will take off that ending and put on an O to get the I version, to say I tolerate, for example. So how would you say I tolerate?
Tolero.
Good, tolero. And you move the accent back as well, which is essential for the present tense. Very good. If you said tolero, it would mean he tolerated, which, as I mentioned, would be useful for us later when we learn this tense. But it's important in the present tense to have the accent on the penultimate syllable, tolero. What was to eat?
Comer.
Comer. And what is I eat?
Comero.
So you don't add on the O, you take off the ending.
Oh, yes. Como.
And then you put como. Good. This also means how or like, by coincidence. You might have heard como estás, how are you?
Yeah.
But como also I eat. So for all verbs, we take off the ending and we add o and we get the I version. But for the rest of the versions, for he, she, it, you formal, for we, etc., the verbs split into two groups. Although we have 3 different endings, we have 2 groups. Now, most verbs in Spanish are are verbs. This is the biggest group, the group of are verbs, the verbs that end AR. In fact, any new verb that comes into Spanish will be crowned as an are verb. So, to give you some examples, tuitear. What do you think that means?
To Twitter.
To tweet, yes, tuitear. Facebookear. Yes, this exists. Googlear.
Excellent.
So there is something in the mental lexicon, in the mental dictionary, that's saying there can be no more ir verbs. These are a historic group. The door is closed. So we have 2 groups. So for ir, if the verb is regular, we take off the ending ir, and we put o, and we get the I version. Now, for the others, the other versions, there's a slight difference between are verbs and ir verbs. Now, are verbs have the vowel a as a principal sound. That's a sound that keeps popping up. So, for example, to eliminate. How is to eliminate?
Elimination, eliminación, eliminar.
Good. Eliminar. So if you want to say I eliminate or I delete, how would it be? Think syllable by syllable. If you think of it all together, it's quite confusing here because you have quite a few vowels.
Elimino.
Good. You see, when you take your time to divide actually the word piece by piece, it's much more digestible. Elimino. Good. Now, for he, she, it, and you formal, we've learned that these group together in Spanish. We just use an A on the ending. So, how would that be? He deletes or eliminates. She, he, you formal.
Elimina.
Good. And we still have the accent on the penultimate syllable. Elimina. Very good. How do you think you would say to last? Like it lasts a long time or something like this. It's not obvious through the word last, but maybe we find something through Latin that helps us work out how to say that. A period of time, sometimes we call it duration. No?
Yeah.
So how would that be in Spanish?
Duración.
So to last might actually come from this. If it did, how would it sound?
Durar.
Yes, and this is the verb, durar. A lot is much in Spanish. It's mucho. So if you want to say it lasts a long time, you can just say it lasts much.
Durar mucho.
This is to last, durar. So how would it lasts be? So you would do the same.
Dura mucho.
Dura mucho. So you might be talking about a show, a movie. How would you say it doesn't last a long time?
No dura mucho.
Good. No dura mucho. How would you say exaggeration? Exaggeration.
Exageración.
Exageración. To exaggerate?
Exagerar.
Yeah. So how would you say I exaggerate?
Exagero.
Good. Exagero. He's exaggerating or she's exaggerating or you...
Exagera.
Good. Exagera. He's not exaggerating, she's not exaggerating, you, formal, are not exaggerating.
No exagera.
Good. No exagera. Good. Did you ever hear the word mastication in English?
Masticación.
Did you ever hear it? No?
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, this is a word...
Chewing.
Yes. So how do you think to chew would be?
Masticar.
Masticar is to chew. Now, I didn't know this word, actually, and this will happen to many English speakers as well. You will be able to work out many English words that you didn't know before through Spanish. So this was the way around it worked for me, because I found masticar first, and then I saw in English somewhere mastication. So it can work that way around as well, which is useful. Another example is morder, which means to bite. I learned this in Spanish, and then I saw in some a novel I was reading, mordant. Oh, okay, that means biting. You can increase your English vocabulary and what you understand in English just through the Latin that you learn in Spanish. So if masticar is to chew, how would you say I chew?
Mastico.
Mastico. Good. And he chews or she chews, it chews, you formal chew.
Mastica.
Mastica. Good. Now, this is our key sound, this A sound. Now, we can add on different sounds to this A to get other versions. So, for example, if we add on an N to this A, we get they, and we get you plural. So, in English, like you guys, you all. So, how would you say collaboration?
Colaboración.
Colaboración. To collaborate?
Colaborar.
Good. I collaborate?
Colaboro.
Good. Colaboro. He, she, it, you formal?
Colabora.
Colabora. You can add on to this an N and you get they or you plural. So, how would it be?
Colaboran.
Colaboran. Good. Hablar is to speak in Spanish. Hablar. It's spelled Hablar. What's happening with that H?
It's silent.
Totally silent. Hablar. How do you say I speak?
Hablo.
Hablo. So hablo is I speak or I'm speaking. Habla is
He, she, it, or the formal.
good, you formal. Good. So what would it mean if I said no hablan con Pablo? No hablan con Pablo.
They're not speaking with Pablo.
Good. They're not speaking with Pablo or they don't speak with Pablo. Good. How would you say I want to speak?
Quiero hablar.
Quiero hablar. How would you say I'm going to speak? Think of to go on a voyage.
Ah, voy.
Good.
Yes. Voy a hablar.
Now, I'm not sure, because hablar starts with a, I'm not sure if you put the a to connect them. Did you?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Ah.
Voy a hablar.
Good. Voy a hablar. And when you speak quickly, it will kind of blend together. Voy a hablar. Maybe it's a fraction longer. Voy a hablar. But it will stick together like this. Good. Now, if we go back to this he, she, it form, habla, and we add an S, we get the you informal.
Hablas.
Hablas. So this is speaking to one person informally. Hablas. When we have one of these little words, te, me, lo, los, la, las, they will come before the changed verb. So the changed verb is the one that isn't ending "a" anymore. They will come before this verb. So if we have quiero, I want, and we want to say I want it, that it must come before the verb. So how will it be?
Lo quiero.
Lo quiero. But that little word can also go after the complete verb. If we say something like I want to see it, we end up actually having an option where we put that it. But it doesn't matter. There's no change in meaning. It's exactly the same. You just have the option. So what was to see, which was related to English view?
Ver.
Ver. So if you want to say I want to see it or I want to see him,
So it's quiero verlo
quiero verlo.
or lo quiero ver.
Yeah, you have that option. Lo quiero ver. But if you have one changed verb all by itself, You don't have the option. It must go before. You might say, it's important to speak about it. Now, you don't need to say about. In Spanish, you can just say to speak it. And that's understood, to speak about it. So here, in that clause, in that bit, to speak about it, is only to speak. So how do you say it's important to speak about it? Or literally, it's important to speak it?
Es importante
To
hablarlo.
Good. So how was I must or I owe, which is related to the English word debt?
Debo.
Debo. So I must invite him,
Debo invitarlo.
or
Lo debo invitar.
good. So that's the deal with these little words, where we can put them. Good.